On August 9, 1988, the sports world completely stopped spinning. The greatest hockey player on the planet, right at the absolute peak of his career, was suddenly shipped out of town. To this day, it remains the biggest trade in the history of sports. But for decades, one massive question has baffled fans. Why? Why on earth would anyone ever trade Wayne Gretzky? To fully grasp how insane this transaction was, you have to understand the dynasty he built. Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers were utterly dominant. They were a powerhouse that had just won their 4th championship in 5 years. Gretzky wasn't just breaking scoring records. He was destroying them so thoroughly that his numbers still look like typographical errors today. He was the undisputed king of Edmonton. Trading him was like the Chicago Bulls trading Michael Jordan right after a three-peat. It was completely illogical. It made absolutely no sense from a hockey perspective. So, what actually caused the unthinkable to happen? The cold, hard truth? It was all about money. But it wasn't about Gretzky being greedy. Instead, it was a volatile, behind-the-scenes drama driven entirely by the Oilers' owner, Peter Pocklington. Pocklington was a flamboyant businessman whose outside ventures were hemorrhaging cash, and the financial walls were starting to close in. He didn't just want to trade his star player. He desperately needed liquidity to save his own sinking empire. And with that, the greatest asset in sports history was quietly put on the auction block. As the summer raged on, secret meetings and backdoor negotiations were taking place, far away from the ice. Pocklington began shopping Gretzky to the highest bidder in total secrecy. When Gretzky eventually caught wind of the rumors, he was devastated, unable to believe the franchise would treat him like a disposable asset. But the climactic, emotional breaking point happened during a single, fateful phone call. While in a room with team management, Gretzky listened in on a speakerphone conversation. He overheard Pocklington talking about him not as a franchise hero, but as a depreciating asset, a piece of meat to be sold off for maximum profit. That speakerphone betrayal completely shattered their relationship. Gretzky's heart was broken. Realizing that Edmonton's ownership no longer wanted him, he finally gave his agent the green light to find him a new home. The final deal was staggering. Wayne Gretzky, along with teammates Marty McSorley and Mike Krushelnyski, was sent to the Los Angeles Kings. In return, the Edmonton Oilers received Jimmy Carson, Martin Gelinas, 3 first-round draft picks, and, most importantly for Peter Pocklington, $15 million in cash. The shockwave hit Edmonton like a meteor. Fans were practically rioting in the streets. People burned Pocklington in effigy outside the team's arena. It became a matter of national crisis, to the point where even Canadian politicians tried to step in to block the trade from happening. The immediate aftermath produced some incredibly spicy quotes to the press, with a visibly weeping Gretzky telling the media that he had to leave Edmonton, while an embattled Pocklington desperately tried to spin the narrative. Canada was entirely in mourning. But the legacy of this singular event from 1988 goes far beyond a single team's heartbreak. When Gretzky touched down in Los Angeles, he made hockey cool in the Sun Belt. He single-handedly exploded the popularity of the sport in the United States, paving the way for the NHL's massive expansion into non-traditional markets like California, Texas, and Florida. The trade didn't just alter a roster, it fundamentally reshaped the modern sports landscape forever. And before we go, here's one last crazy piece of trivia. Before the Kings deal was finalized, Gretzky was actually a pen stroke away from being traded to Detroit. Imagine how different hockey history would look if the Great One wore red and white. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.